As business people, are we afraid of being human, or do we think we have to appear like we are a superhero every day? Hello, I'm Chester Elton, and this is my dear friend and co-author, Adrian Gostick.
Well, thanks, Chess. Our guest today is going to help us move from hero to human and remove the mental obstacles that stand between us and our authenticity. As always, we hope the time you spend with us will help reduce the stigma of anxiety in your work and in your personal life.
And with us is our dear, dear friend, Hortense Le Gentil. She's the author of the acclaimed book, Aligned, and now the new book, The Unlocked Leader. Dare to free your own voice, lead with empathy, and shine your light in the world. Le Gentil's thought leadership is formed by 30 years in business. She's been a nominee for the Thinkers 50 Coaching and Mentoring Awards, and her thought leadership has been featured in the Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Fast Company, and many, many other publications. Hortense is based in New York City and grew up in France, where she was a competitive show jumper in her youth. We are delighted to have our dear friend Hortense Le Gentil on our humble podcast. Thanks for finding the time, Hortense.
No, thank you for having me, Chester and Adrian. I just love you.
I don't think my name has ever sounded so cool. So thanks, Hortense.
You like Adrian?
I like it. Yeah, I like it. Hey, so we want to talk about your new book, The Unlocked Leader. And you start the book with a section on the fear of being human. Now, as you say, too many of us expect as leaders that we're infallible. And that's what we're supposed to show to the world. But you say, no. We're getting this all wrong. We need to be human, show imperfection, lead with our hearts. So walk us through this idea that's still a little counterintuitive.
Exactly. So let me begin maybe with why it is important to talk about that today, especially today. It's the world change, an expectation of your employees, your customers, expectations change. So people, they don't need another hero. They don't want another hero, like Turner said. They want to connect with you. They want you to be human because they want to relate with you. So the superhero model doesn't work anymore. So you have to change. And a lot of has been said, in fact, about why it is important to be a vulnerable, empathetical leader, what I call a human leader, but less about how to do it. And so in the book, this is a process of how to free yourself from the mind traps that hold you back from being this human leader.
Yeah, the mind traps is really an interesting thing. You talk about that traps you in your old way of thinking, right? So give us some examples of some common mind traps that leaders need to overcome to really be that human leader you talk about.
So let me give you the definition of a mind trap for me. A mind trap is a mental obstacle that stands between you today and you tomorrow. So they are the stories that you're telling yourself. And what are they? Where are they coming from? They can come from, trauma. They can come from, the voices that you don't, voices that are not yours. So let me give you an example. I'm going to talk about, for example, it happened to everyone, by the way. So it happened to everyone. At one point, you feel like you cannot move forward. It doesn't work anymore. And so you can feel guilty, you can feel angry, you can feel unhappy, you can feel depressed, sometimes burnout. And all those are sometimes also you are very arrogant. This is the symptoms of you are trapped somewhere. So it happened to everyone, and it happened to me, for example. So let me share the story. It was, 15 years ago. And I was living in Paris. And I felt lost and stuck in my personal life and in my professional life. I felt like I didn't fit in it. And I felt like I was not writing my own story. And it was not really my life that I was living. It was more a life that maybe someone else wanted for me or to conform, to the society. So I was there, I was locked. And at the point where everything went south, it was a very low point, and I was stuck in my bed for months. So this is a mind trap, right? I was absolutely trapped, and my body was trapped. And so later, I will understand why, and I will learn how to unlock myself. And I freed myself by listening to my own voice. Let me explain. I had a dream at that time. So I had a dream, and my grandmother that I just loved, the grandmother that I loved, came in my dream and told me, you have to find the path of roses. I was very surprised. So I said, what is it? The path of roses. And where it is? And she just smiled at me and she said, you know where it is. And I woke up. I was furious, absolutely furious, because, she didn't give me, the direction. And so it took me a while to understand that, in fact, what she was telling me is the path of roses was myself. And I had to listen to my voice and not listen to the voice who said, you cannot divorce, you cannot be an entrepreneur at the age of 40, this is madness. No, I just have to follow my voice. So I freed myself by doing so. And I became, and I left my marriage, and I became an entrepreneur for a decade until I found my calling as a coach.
That's beautiful.
And so, not listening to your own voice, it's a very common mind trap.
Yeah. And then,
common mind trap.
And by the way, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story too. It's very powerful. And I think a lot of people listening are going, okay, I relate. I was at that point at one time, or I'm there now. And so, but the next part is perhaps even or more important, or as important, is the mind shift. We identify the traps within ourselves, but then we have to make this mind shift you talk about. Well, I would argue that's easier said than done. How do we confront our fears and change our thinking and not fall back into old habits?
Mm-hmm. So the mind shift, so it's a process. So now that we know that we are locked, so it's a process of transformation. This is the first step. So where you challenge your belief or you challenge your fears. So, and let me maybe share another story. So in my case, if you want to continue this story, in my case, it was, to go back to the source of the voice. So who said that? Everyone. It's a society, so it's collective. Everyone say, no, you cannot divorce, no, you cannot do that. But is it, and you ask yourself three very powerful questions. Is it true? Is it true that no, you cannot be an entrepreneur, and no, because you are 40, and no, you cannot divorce? It's not true. Is it relevant? No. Is it helpful? Not at all. So here, you let go. If the answer to those three questions is no, you let go. Why should you continue with that, right?
Excellent. So it is, what I love about your writing and I love about your work is you talk about authenticity, and you live a very authentic life, Hortense. We've known you for some time now. There's no guile, there's no veneer. It's Hortense, and you bring the joy. And it's so interesting to me, that journey, because, you describe on Hortense that I never knew and would never have imagined was you. So this transformation is so interesting. And the fact that now you're helping other people and giving them very specific tools. So you talk about, you've got the mind trap and the mind shift. Now the third part is the mind build. So you've figured out, what your grandma was telling you to get out of that mind trap. And then you've gone through the mind shift. Talk to us about how you then do the mind build, because that's where it starts to really gain momentum. Yes?
Yes. So the mind build is now that you freed yourself, like we said. So in my case, I was listening to my voice. I could share another example if it's helpful, but let's take this one for the moment. So you listen to your voice. So the minute I began to listen to my voice, I freed myself. So you're here. So now what you can do is write your own story, because you are the author of your story. So now you can rewrite. So this is what you do with Mind Build. This is, you go back to what drives you, what is important, and how you want to be remembered as a person, as a leader, and it's going to be your true north. And maybe let me give you an example of you. For me, the best unlocked leader that I never saw, who inspired me, is Ralph Lauren.
Okay.
So Ralph, from the beginning, he just listened to his voice, to his dream. I think that everyone knows the story of this young man born in the Bronx, who designed very beautiful ties, white ties, went to Bloomingdale's to sell them. They was interesting that they said, yes, we took them, but narrow and without, the polo label. Mm. And at that time, Ralph, was not, he didn't build the empire that he has today. Yeah. He was just beginning. Yeah. But he left and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to follow my dream. And we all know, and he's still, inspiring us now for over than 50 years. And his company purpose is to inspire a dream of a better life. How beautiful is it? Yeah. So for me, this is really what means, mind build. So he built his story because he believed in his story. He was clear in his vision, in his dream, in his voice.
And I love that he was the first endorsement on the back of your book too. And I thought, well, this is interesting, Ralph Lauren, And then you read through the story and you go, wow, it really is. Yeah. I didn't know his story. And so it was very inspiring on both ends, both you and Ralph Lauren. And yes, I have a Ralph Lauren tie. So with that, let me turn it back to Adrian. Go ahead, buddy.
Hey,
I'm sure he's doing orange. I'm sure he's doing orange.
Yeah, it is absolutely an orange tie. Yeah.
You can have it. I know what I'm going to give you for the birthday.
Which is tomorrow, by the way. I thought I'd throw that in.
That's we're not dropping any hints here, but he turns 39
you know
tomorrow.
That? Okay, so let's go for tomorrow.
How did people learn more about your work, Hortense? Where would you send them?
So I am on LinkedIn, of course. I have a website, hlgconsulting.org. Or you just type my name, but it's too long, so I made a shortcut. And
So let me ask a question about the subhead of your book, because we've written 15, what are we up to, Chess, books together, and we spend a lot of time arguing about subheads. People don't really realize how much time. And one of the things you have in there is the first part of it, dare to free your own voice. I bet there was some debate or some thought about that. So tell me what that means, daring to free your own voice. That's maybe even a little different than what Ralph Lauren went with his own vision, but your voice is something that maybe a lot of people don't find maybe ever or until later in their lives. Talk about that.
So I would say that first, dare is because you need courage to do that. So it looks very simple. What we say looks very, very simple. But the first thing is you need courage. You need to be courageous to do it. So, and this is the good thing as a leader. And dare to free your own voice. What that means? That means that if I want to go back, to my story, for example, because it's easy to explain. We are surrounded by voices. Surrounded. There is a noise here, around us and, inside our brain, our mind. So all day long, our brain listen, hear voices. You have to do that. You don't do that. You have to wear that. You are not good enough. You are not young enough. You don't have the right things. You don't have the right color, the right pen, the right. Or you open media, whatever. So we are surrounded by voices, and we don't take time to listen to our own voice. What that mean? That means that take the time to just stop and clear the noise. Take 10 minutes per day. Just do silence. Try to do silence. And you will see that even when you try hard, your mind is still, talking, giving you stories, because this is who we are. We are storyteller. But no, what is your voice? If you don't want to hear your voice, you really have to work and to begin this journey, like we talk about, of unlocking yourself. But first, you have to listen to you. Where are you? How do you feel? What do you think? Very often, my clients, I say, because they say, yeah, I should do that. They say I should do that, and say, hey, and what do you think? Oh, what I think.
I haven't thought about that.
To think about, what I think. So this is there to listen to you, to free your own voice. So free yourself. Be courageous enough. Yes, talk. It's fine. Speak up.
So insightful to clear out the noise, because we do. We live in a noisy world, right? And we're constantly with our AirPods in and surfing and doing everything else. It's really interesting. You talk about the need for empathy. And in our book, Anxiety at Work, we were happy to take up that call, for a more empathetic leader. Well, walk us through a couple of the concepts with empathy that you deal with, and perhaps covering some of the things we haven't talked about yet, maybe the need for gratitude in that need for change. Can you expound on that a little bit for us?
Mm-hmm. So, empathy comes, in fact, it comes from a German word who means empathy. So it's really the ability to feel with, to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else, to feel this person. And this is amazing for me. This is the best, the best thing on earth that we can do. And but it's not that easy. And you have to practice to do it. So why it is important as a leader to do it is because if you don't listen, if you don't feel like, your customer are feeling, if you don't feel, what your employees are feeling, you will never, be as successful as you can, because you don't know what they need. And so you cannot create the right product for the customer, and you cannot help your team because you don't listen. You don't take the time to understand them. And so how you do that is by practicing gratitude, as you know. Practicing gratitude takes the famous do a routine, daily routine where you can practice. And the first thing is practice gratitude, as you said. Gratitude is a more powerful tools than it, because you're happy. Oh, I'm grateful that I'm talking to my friends today. So I'm happy. So you are always happy for something, right? You can always find something, even if it's very difficult. If your life is very difficult, find what is nice, what is good, what you are grateful for. And also as a leader, showing gratitude, as you said, both of you in your book, is important, because you tell people, I show you. I know. Sorry. I saw you. And it's important as a person. Oh, he saw me, or she saw me. Okay, I exist. I am a human being. Okay, I am someone important. So now let's talk.
Lovely. Lovely. This has been a wonderful discussion, Hortense. I want to be mindful of your time, and we want to get you to your next meetings. So give us a good wrap up here. The last year or two you've been working on this book. It's finally coming to fruition. What have you learned in this process that you want to share with our listeners?
what I learned that it's a journey to write a book.
It's not easy, right? Not easy at all.
God, it took me,
Yeah.
between the first day and the day of the release days, almost 3 years, almost.
Wow.
And almost 3 years, not exactly, but 2.5, let's say. It's a long process, and writing also helps you to clear your voice and your mind, and to also see the past, to realize where you're coming from and your journey, because we don't take a lot of time to do that and to say, oh, I begin here, I'm here now. Okay, so I moved.
Delight. Well, our guest today has been Hortense Le Gentil. She's the author of the book Aligned, which I highly recommend. I have a copy in my library and have loved that one. And be sure to get her new book, The Unlocked Leader, Dare to Free Your Own Voice, Lead with Empathy, and Shine Your Light in the World. Hortense, it's always a delight to spend some time with you. Thanks so much for finding the time to be on our podcast. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, both of you.
Okay, Adrian, always a delight to be with Hortense. She brings such joy and such an interesting story. A lot about Hortense that I didn't know, and gosh, I've known her for years. Yeah. What were some of your key takeaways?
Well, at the beginning here, we don't need another hero. Your employees don't need you to be the hero leader. They want to connect with you. It's a different world we're in. So I think that was a good start. Then we jumped into, sort of what's holding us back from being more authentic, like starting with the mind trap, right?
Yeah, those old things that, are you listening to your voice or the voice of everyone around you? Those old norms. And it was so interesting that it got so bad for her that she was literally bedridden for a month. Mm. And then, her grandma came to her rescue. I love that story that said, find the road of roses, the path of roses. And then to me, the 3 questions that she shared with us that were so great, where she said, is it true? Is it relevant? Is it helpful?
Yeah.
Is it true? Is it relevant? Is it helpful? I love those little, tools that we get from these wonderful leaders that we talk to. If you can answer those 3 questions or get to the answer, you'll know your path. You'll know where to go.
Right. And in her case, she was saying, well, I can't move on in my life. I can't be an entrepreneur, et cetera. She realized she had to let it go. Now, as we say, that's sometimes easier said than done, but at least you begin that process. And she was saying, things that we may hold on to, we may be depressed, we may be arrogant, we may be at burnout, we may be feeling like, I can't at this point. No, let it go.
There was a lot of static when you did that. I don't know if you're moving around papers or something.
That's weird.
Right.
Let me try it again, Brent. Yeah, let me try to bring Brent. Okay. Right. Now, she said there's a lot of things that may hold us back. We could be depressed. We could be arrogant. We could be in burnout. What's keeping us from moving forward?
Yeah. And then lastly, she says, clean out the noise in your life. Spend 10 minutes in just silence and thought and think it through. Well, just a delightful interview with our dear friend. And, she talked about gratitude. And of course, we want to give thanks to our wonderful producer, Brent Klein, that cleans up all the noise in our podcast and makes it sound so great. And of course, to Christy Lawrence, who helps us find amazing guests. And obviously to all of you that take the time to listen into our podcast. And we hope if you enjoyed it that you'll share it with friends and family. We'd love to have you come visit thecultureworks.com for some free resources to help you and your team develop a culture and build a culture where you can thrive.
And we love speaking to audiences around the world on topics from anxiety and resilience to culture, teamwork, leadership. So give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about your virtual or in-person event. And Jess, I'm going to give you the last word today. Of course, remind people to pick up our book, Anxiety at Work. Let you send us off today.
There you go. Well, just hope you have a wonderful day that is full of low anxiety and high gratitude, and that you really do pay attention to your own voice, as Hortense says. Follow your own path. And with that, we bid you adieu.